Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Taurus energy, and like usual we're going to do two rows. The top row I'll refer to as high vibe Taurus energy, the bottom row a more worldly shadowy Taurus energy. We've all got free will and we debate within ourselves. In our high vibe nature, we might want to move forward in life a little differently, having a little more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, or healing or growing or maturing ourselves. Facing our fears, but in the shadowy row can just represent our comfort zone. And we can all have fear of stepping out of our comfort zone. It might require that we do change our habits or distance ourselves from certain things or people. And so we all can be tempted to want to stay in our comfort zone. And sometimes when other people are ready to move forward differently, kind of have looked at life a little differently, faced some of their fears, we others sometimes aren't ready to do that. And we all are kind of going through phases of life. And, sometimes when other people don't like how their life is going or certain things, we're still okay with it. So it's just seeing the truth that, Taurus does, to me, it kind of represents the Supreme Court in our own head. We have these ways of viewing life and living life, and what we think is like just and fair and right and wrong, and our dreams and aspirations and what we're comfortable with. And sometimes we're just no longer on the same page as people. So the high vibe row could represent when people feel like they've worked through some issues that used to manipulate them to some degree, whether it's fear or other people or the world or their ego or their immature nature or their lust or their greed. And they've kind of worked through those things and they're ready to become independent of those things. And they kind of learn the lesson they were meant to learn from a certain phase of life that they had been in. And again, sometimes when some people do that, other people haven't, and we've been on either side of the coin at different times, right? When we were 18, we didn't act more like a 25-year-old because that's not where we were at. We were viewing life a certain way and wanting to live life a certain way. And when we get older, we can be at different emotional maturity levels and be the same age, right? And how we want to live life and what we value and what's important. And shadowy Taurus could be maybe where more people are more caught up in the things of the world or ego or image or status or things that they want to manifest in the world. Maybe you're just really focused on their career, and other people are ready to maybe just get more balance within themselves, that I do want these things of the world, but I also want to be in careers and friendships and relationships with people that I love and be more aligned with my loving, encouraging nature instead of my fearful nature or something, or my more immature nature. And sometimes we're just not on the same page at the same time. Let's go look at the bottom row first. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Page of Pentacles, which can represent all three of the earth sign energies in our Virgo, our Capricorn, and our Taurus energy at different times in our life. We could be working on something that we're not ready to detach from. Taurus energy is also fixed sign energy. It's kind of the earth sign energy I believe we tap into when we're in the midst of trying to make something work. So if someone's still in the midst of trying to make something work, other people could have already been trying to make something similar to that work, and they have seen kind of the truth that this isn't working. But we are all willing to accept the truth at kind of different times. And in high vibe, holding the one pentacle can be that other people work through or learn the lesson they were meant to learn from a phase of life. They did kind of see the truth of it. And part of it could have been, again, that in their earth sign energies of themselves, there was something they didn't want to give up on yet, or they really still are just a little bit more kind of motivated and inspired by some things of the world that they might make their life about, and they're not ready to move forward in life differently, but other people are. So we have the Three of Cups, the Fool, the High Priestess, the Knight of Cups, and the World. So the World can talk about closing out a cycle, and again, that's what some people have done. I was in something, the Three of Cups, I emotionally could have taken a leap of faith. I listened to my intuition. It was something or someone that I wanted to invest in, that I thought would make me happy, that I could have had love for. Some people are still in that. Again, it's just like being 18. I'm 18 years old. This is how I want to live my life. Other people have been 18, were 18, and there came a time in their life when, I feel like the reason I might not moving forward to be more like a 21-year-old, say, for example, is because I might have fear of having a new beginning. The Page of Pentacles is like willing to be a student of life and detach from an old way of living life and viewing life to kind of move forward in life. And the reason for the top rose reading is the Nine of Swords. We have fear of closing out a cycle. The nines and the tens can talk about closing out a cycle. And if there's a job, a friendship, a relationship, a way of living life, a way of viewing life, if we're more fearful of having a new beginning, we'll keep investing in what we're investing in. And we could have invested in some things and people, and we could have been trying to offer them love and encouragement for them to work through things that kind of get them all up in their head, or trying to see why they let certain things manipulate them, because the Nine of Swords is Gemini energy about our dualistic nature. Do I have more hope and faith and belief in myself and in my dreams and in love? Or do I have more fear or more aligned with my worldly nature, or make these things of the world more important to me? Or if other people in my life aren't willing to move forward in life differently, shadowy Taurus can be about conforming to the world, that if other people aren't moving forward in life that way, then I'm not going to move forward in life that way. If these people don't think this way, then I'm not going to become more independent of them to live my truth, And so some people are in the midst of something right now, and they're just not ready to be independent of it yet, because they're not wanting to give up that way of viewing life, living life, or the people that they align with in their life. Because then it maybe would require them to be more independent. Because high vibe energy is being more independent and free from things that manipulate you. But you'd have to be willing to see the truth. And in high vibe, the pentacle also is about truth and love. And for some people, that isn't their truth. Again, we have free will. I can either choose to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature, or I align with my more being about myself, or my ego, or my fear, or my codependency, or the world. And for some people, it can be hard for us to accept it. If you're someone who has kind of more hope and faith and belief and love, it can be hard to wrap your brain around that some people at some point in their life made a decision, I don't want to invest in maybe being more independent. Maybe, well, we'll kind of maybe get to it in the top row about what it is, but the High Priestess can talk about hiding, and the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel, and this is a feminine figure. And then the Knight of Cups is a masculine figure, and that can represent how we present ourselves in the world and action that we take in the world. And some people hide their more, the Knight of Cups is Pisces energy, emotional water sign energy, about having hope and faith and belief in your dreams. And some people hide their more, we have that free will. Kind of like I keep that buried beneath the surface. I don't want to align with my more hopeful, believing nature. The Three of Cups can be the emotional foundation that I operate from, and my emotional foundation that I operate from in the Fool card could be that I'm kind of more about these things of the world or myself. The Fool I view as Aries energy, fire sign energy. Some people are a fool for the world in their earth sign energies. I'm more motivated and inspired by these things of the world. That's emotionally what I am emotionally invested in and what I want to make my life about. I might not, I kind of keep my more emotionally intuitive nature kind of buried beneath the surface. I have free will. I choose not to align with that. I'm more inspired maybe by the world or by me or these things of the world. That's what I emotionally love. And that is my truth. And that's what I want to invest in. But now, some of the people who are more about themselves or these things of the world, that's really what drives and motivates them. They can always try to present themselves as a more high vibrational person, motivated and inspired by love, because otherwise, if they were to say, well, no, I'm really more just about myself and how it benefits me, and I'm really more about ego and image and money and materialism and me, other people maybe wouldn't get in a relationship with them. So they could try to move forward in life presenting themselves as more high vibrational and kind of hide the truth of what really drives and motivates them. And then if they get in relationships with people who have more hope and faith and belief in love or are more emotionally mature, because some of the worldly shadowy people try to present themselves, a knight would be more mature than a page. In tarot, we have the pages, the knights, the kings and queens, the emperor, the empress, the hierophant, and the high priestess. Some people try to create the illusion that they harness a more high vibrational page of pentacles, like, oh no, I have that hopeful, believing spirit. I'm willing to learn lessons in life. I'm not operating more from my ego or more about myself or more about these things of the world. And they try to hide the truth about what they love from the world so that they can go out and try to present themselves as more high vibrational. But if they get in relationships with people who are like more, really are who they say they are, that's high vibe energy. Otherwise, in shadow, you're trying to kind of create an illusion about who you are. And they try to get in relationships with people who are more tempered in their ego, a little more self-disciplined, a little more emotionally mature, have worked through their more egoic nature, and really are someone who's willing to learn lessons in life, admit that they have things to learn, don't get maybe so defensive and being more about themselves or their ego. Shadowy Taurus can be being stubborn and kind of prideful, like, I don't have any lessons I need to learn. If they try to get in relationships with more high vibe people, eventually probably the high vibe people in their life are going to want to move forward in life in the world card, kind of close out one phase of life to move forward in life and have this new beginning. And that's when they're going to find out that the people in their life seem to be really stressed out about doing that. It's like, well, you gave the impression that, you've resolved yourself with some of these issues from your past, that you're independent of it, that you're independent more of your fearful nature, your ego nature, the world, other people in your life. And then they could kind of start to see the truth that they got in a relationship with someone. Shadowy Pisces can be people who kind of have these illusions about what it means to be in workplaces and friendships and relationships with people. They really are they indulge their more immature worldly view of life and themselves, and they justify that within themselves and think that's just and fair. And then they kind of have this illusion that the world is also going to indulge them in maybe these illusions that they have about life. And they go out in the world and they kind of find out that other people have grown up and healed and matured themselves, and they don't want to keep indulging someone who really still has some lessons to learn in life, that they're really still kind of want to be in a relationship with people, but either hide from being more authentic and loving and operate from their more defensive egoic nature, or they want to be in relationships with others, but they don't want to see the truth about where they maybe need to heal and grow and mature themselves and maybe become more independent. Or the pages can represent that some people like more codependent relationships. Well, I have my fears and insecurities, or I make my life about these things. You should get in a relationship with me, and you should be in codependent energy, and you should make your life about these things. And if I have these certain things or people in my life that manipulate me, because you love me, you should let those things or those people manipulate you too. And it's kind of letting something other than hope and faith and belief and love is a third party in their life. And it's either their own more immature worldly nature, or they're more codependent on other people in their life. People can love other people, like their friend group or their original family group, but then, they can't be in a romantic relationship with those people. So then they want to be in a romantic relationship, but they're hiding in their shadow nature that I'm never going to become more independent of this group. Like, this group is where my primary loyalty lies. And then, if that is where their primary loyalty lies, if those people in their life say, well, I don't think you should keep moving forward with those people. And they're like, but I got in a relationship with these people and I'm kind of moving forward with these people. There might be a lot of things I like about these people. But if those people, or again, it's kind of like people in our life can just represent, they are their own person, but they're more aligned with their more high vibrational nature, or they're more shadowy, bossy, controlling, manipulative, prideful, defensive, indulgent, whatever kind of ways of being, right? So sometimes we can get in a relationship with someone and they have these other people in their life that they don't really want to be more independent of because they're more codependent on them. And again, if those people are like, it was okay for you to move forward with those people to a degree, but now it could seem like you're almost ready to become more independent of us. And you might be starting to heal or grow or mature yourself or look at life differently, or thinking of maybe closing out this phase of life and being more independent. We don't like that. And so then if the people in their life that they love and are kind of codependent on say, I think you should not move forward with those people, that's when some of those relationships will end, because secretly but what I was trying to get at is I refer to it as other people in their life. And yes, they could have other people in their life, again, friends or family members and things like that. But they wouldn't align with those people if there wasn't something within them that caused them a lot of fear, is what the Nine of Swords can also talk about stepping maybe outside their comfort zone and doing things a little differently, because then they would have to be willing to be a student of life, and it challenges them to not repeat old patterns, to not kind of indulge their fear, their insecurity, their pride, their ego, their lust, their greed, their self-centered nature, whatever it is. And they'd have to kind of put in this work and effort to work through some of those issues and kind of quit indulging their more immature worldly nature to some degree, whatever that represents. And, we can have these different people in our life, and everybody has free will to decide who and what they are going to invest in. And some people chose, I don't choose to align with my more hopeful, believing nature. I might like to be in relationships with people like that, but when it comes to the point where I have to detach from whatever it is that kind of manipulates me, I'm going to give in to that. And I won't keep moving forward with that nature within myself or those types of people in my life. And then they can go, we'll all repeat an old pattern until we learn the lesson we're meant to learn from it. And some people keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over. And some people might do that for the rest of their life because they're unwilling to do the work it takes to work through their own fears, insecurities, pride, ego, bossy nature, controlling a nature, more immature nature, more self-indulgent nature, or think it should be more about them or more about these things of the world. And if that's their truth and that's how they view life, they can always get in relationships with other people. But if they get in relationships with other people that are more motivated and inspired to keep kind of growing and healing and maturing themselves and shedding old layers of themselves and old ways of being, just like we did going from age 15 to 18 to 21, we quit acting and thinking and being like a 15-year-old. Some people have this illusion that they don't really have to grow up or detach from some of their more immature ways, bossy ways, because they could have grown up with people who didn't require it of them. They could have grown up with people who also were more caught up in, it's all about creating this illusion in the world about who you are. You don't really have to grow and heal and mature yourself. You just act like you did. And that's like wearing a false mask. Present yourself as like a loving person in the world who's willing to heal and grow and mature yourself. But then when you really get in those environments where it does like challenge you to become, in the Nine of Pentacles, more independent, and in the Moon card, work through your fears and your insecurities and your immaturity or your whatever, that's when they decide, you can go, or I'll just go get a different job. And they go repeat this pattern somewhere else and start all over again. Some people are more shadowy. And the Three of Cups can be about love, and the Fool card can be about being more about yourself. Some people are more about themselves. But they hide the truth that they are more about indulging themselves, and they think it's just and fair. They also could be intuitive that, maybe at one point in time in their life, they were more motivated and inspired by truth and love, but maybe they went through some life experiences with people in their life who were hiding that they lived more from their mind than their heart, and maybe they were more manipulative or prideful, or in shadow, it can be that you use your emotions more manipulatively. If it's a romantic relationship, that you use your sexuality more manipulatively, that you try to use your things of the world to emotionally manipulate people to get them to stay in relationship with you. And they could have been, some of the people we know, just like us, could have been in relationships with people who were more bossy or controlling or manipulative or prideful or more about the world and use those things of the world. And maybe when we were more codependent on people to get us to live our life more like they live their life and hide the truth and create this illusion to the world of how wonderful our life is. And somewhere along the way, some people could have decided that, it seems to work for those people. When I wanted to have hope and faith and belief and love, they didn't want to do that. I could have taken it personally as a reflection of my worth and value. And now I always stay in my fear or my insecurity or lack of self-worth. But some people could have decided, so there's people in the world who are more about themselves. They're kind of a little more bossy, controlling, and stubborn. If they have some of these things of the world and they wear a good false mask, they can get people to align with them and be in relationship with them and stay in relationship with them, because we can all be tempted in our more want for these things of the world, stability, security, to be in relationship, status, image. And some people could have decided somewhere along the way, you know what? I think if there's people in the world who are going to be manipulated, if they're loving, that's not going to be me. If there's people in the world who are going to be more stubborn and prideful and bossy and controlling and use their emotions and their sexuality and their looks and their resources and their power and their money to manipulate people, that's what I'm going to do. And then they go out in the world trying to find, because I think shadowy people, they might be bossy, they might be controlling, they might be immature, they might be manipulative, might be egotistical, might be narcissistic, whatever they are. But they don't want to necessarily be in a relationship with someone like themselves. They want to be in relationships with people who have that hopeful, believing, loving spirit. And in high vibe Taurus, fixed sign energy, they put a lot of work and effort to try to make something just and fair and balanced and victorious and successful. And they're like, I'm going to go find me one of those kind of people in the world. And because they put a lot of work and effort to make a relationship work, that's good. Because they have that hopeful, believing spirit and love, of course they'll think that I'm motivated and inspired by love. And they'll keep maybe thinking one day I'll change and quit being more about the truth of who I am, and that I'll maybe become more like them. But I'm not going to. But as long as they think that, it works for me. So let's go look at the top row. Some high vibe people in the world went through some of the same similar life experiences as some of the people who decided to not deal with the truth about some shadowy people in their life. There's always going to be people in our life that we loved, that it didn't work out. High vibe people accept the truth of it. Not everybody I love, just like everybody that I want to be friends with or go work with or be in a relationship with, it's not going to work out. Well, the high vibe people work through it to accept the truth of it, just like sometimes people want to be in friendships or relationships with me or have me come work with them, and I'm like, I'm not feeling it. We accept the truth that not everybody's going to feel that way about us. But maybe the more you are kind of caught up in your ego, the more you might really be wondering, why don't they want to be in a relationship with me, right? Well, high vibe people see the truth. I see the truth that not everybody's motivated and inspired what I'm motivated. Just like we all have different things we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into. Some of the things that I would like to go invest my time, energy, and effort into aren't things that other people want to invest their time, energy, and effort into. We're all different. And some people only like being in relationships with people, but they could like people staying more codependent on them. And you could have realized that some people you could have felt were being more manipulative, or maybe they're more immature, or maybe they're more codependent, or whatever. High vibe people work through the truth of it to get out of their head about it. And then we have the Knight of Pentacles, the Emperor, the Seven of Pentacles, the Hermit, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Moon. So down here we have water, fire, water, water. Maybe a little ungrounded, because they're putting an end to the Page of Pentacles. So more inspired, maybe emotionally more by the world. Up here we have 3 Virgo energies. The Knight of Pentacles, oh no, I guess just 2. The Knight of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles is Virgo. The Seven of Pentacles is Taurus. Oh, here, the Hermit is Virgo. A lot of earth sign energy up here. And everybody, there's some people who, just like you, are kind of very loving people, but sometimes we're kind of not. Emotional water sign energies are offset by earth signs, but we've all go on these journeys in life, and it's like, oh my gosh, I love them. And it kind of, we disregard other aspects in our life, and our life kind of gets really tipped out of balance and can kind of go off in the ditch. And as we learn these lessons, if we're willing to learn these lessons, we kind of get more balance between our emotionally loving, intuitive nature, but also being grounded and practical and being willing, high vibe Virgos, about dealing with the truth that I can be a very loving, nurturing person, but just because I'm a very loving, nurturing person, I have to deal with the truth that not everybody wants to be in a relationship with me again, and that I can be a very loving and encouraging and nurturing person to people, but they can choose to still be bossy or controlling or immature, right? I don't want to be in my ego like I am God. People should want to be in a relationship. God's a very loving, nurturing person, and God lets people have their free will. But kind of us in our more worldly, egoic nature can be like, well, no, I'm being loving and nurturing and supportive. It's like, God, change them. God, make this work. And God's like, they got free will. That's not their truth. Are you willing to see the truth, or are you going to keep being in your ego? Well, I wanted this to work. It's like, you might have wanted it to work, but that's not the truth. They're maybe not very grounded. And they could still have all these things that they're emotionally inspired by and love and want to go indulge in, and people they want to get to love them and be in a relationship with them. And, sometimes people who are loving, nurturing people can get in relationships with other people who also seem loving and nurturing. And that's why you like them, right? And you get in a relationship with them. But the reason why they can be loving and nurturing people to other people is for how it benefits them more. So a little more self-motivated. I want to be in a relationship. That's why I'm loving and nurturing to you. I want to look like I've closed out a cycle and moved on, like I've healed and grown and matured, but I really haven't. But if I get in a relationship with you, it'll make it look like I did. Because I know some of the people in my life who really are more grounded, stable, balanced. They're probably going to move forward in life. And I want to look like I'm moving forward in life. So you can get in those mismatched relationships, and that's eventually you come to realize that they have these, it's either more about the world, the ego and the image and the status, or to be in a relationship, but it's really not ultimately in high vibe Gemini about our truth. It's really not motivated and inspired by love. It could be a lot of other things, and we could have a lot of things that we enjoy doing. We could have similar ways of viewing the world. We could have similar things that we enjoy investing our time, energy, and effort into. We could have a lot of similar beliefs, but one person's can be more self-motivated, but they hide that. And then eventually you kind of realize that what really drives and motivates them is it being more about them or more about the status or the image, and that they could be unwilling to, they have this way of viewing life and living life, and it should look like this, and people should act like this, and people should attend these functions and hang out with these people and not attend these functions and not hang out with these people. And, it can just be very set where this is what I love. This is what I enjoy. I want to be in a relationship for someone to do it with me, but if we're going to work together with other people, it can't just be more about us. Well, I had my idea and I had my dream and I want to do it my way. And if you're going to work with other people, you have to realize that they have their own dreams and aspirations and viewpoints and had their own ideas of how they thought things were going to work out. And then if you're in high vibe energy, you're giving birth to something new. You have your ways, I have my ways. Together we have this common goal. We're going to work together to compromise. It's not all my way, it's not all your way. And that's when we can end up finding out with some people that, no, they have their way. And that's the way they want to do it. And so then it is a little bit more about them. And they could have some illusions about what it means to be in relationship with other people. So, from the 1 pentacle to the Knight of Pentacles, which is kind of with all those pentacles, kind of reminding me of the 9 of Pentacles. From the 1 to the 9, in between there's the 8 of Pentacles. The 8 of Pentacles typically is looking to the future. The 8 of Pentacles comes after the 7 of Pentacles. I had a way of living life, a way of viewing life in my Taurus energy. But as I have lived my life and I have learned these different lessons in life and I've come in contact with these different people, it's helped me get more clear about my truth. And going through a certain phase of life and life experience, I have gotten a little more clear about my truth where I wasn't before. And now I'm going to take that truth with me, and now I'm inspired to incorporate that truth into my philosophy of life. And I, in the Emperor, like Aries energy, they're both Aries energy, I am inspired to incorporate that new truth into how I make decisions moving forward. I had been debating within myself. I had a conclusion in my Taurus Supreme Court nature of what I thought was the truth, and I was going to live my life a certain way, and, this is where I'm at right now. This is how I view life. But as I went through that stage of life, I learned these lessons. I'm going to incorporate that lesson that I've learned either somewhere along the way. I healed or grew and matured myself, learned how to love myself, dealt with other people, and they had their ways of being, and I kind of saw the truth about how their truth is a little different than my truth, or what they think is just and fair is different than my idea of what I think is just and fair, what their dreams and aspirations are, and their idea of the dream life is different than mine. It's helped me get a little more clear about my truth. And I'm going to incorporate that into my philosophy of life. And then in the Hermit, which is also Virgo energy, I'm going to take this time alone to reflect, because there was a reason why I thought the way I did, and why I lived the way I lived, and the way I perceived myself in the world the way I did, and why I was drawn and attracted to certain people, because I had these lessons to learn from them. Well, I really want to make sure I learn the lesson and see what it was within me that could have made me be drawn and attracted to certain people anyway, or live my life a certain way, if I don't want to go back and repeat that pattern. Because there's always going to be people like that in the world, whatever way of being that was, that maybe I came to realize that wasn't my truth. And so, but there was something within me that drew and attracted me to them. Well, part of it could be because, I wanted to be just in relationship with others. Well, that's always going to be the case. We're human beings. We like to be in community and friendship and relationship with people. But I might have to be more insightful and grounded. I might love people. I might be attracted to people. People might present themselves as loving and nurturing. Maybe before I wasn't really listening to my intuition. And I kind of got into things, even if my intuition could have told me, I think your truth is different. I kind of think what drives and motivates them is a little different than what drives and motivates you. But, we kind of in our ego, we have these lessons learned. Pride comes before the fall. Oh, we went and did it anyway. And then eventually it probably didn't work out. So we probably learned, and I think our intuition, which is what the high priestess represents, is our higher self. It's like our self actualization and self-protective nature, where it's like, danger, danger, you shouldn't do this isn't a good idea. And I think it was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world, because the masculine figures doesn't have to represent men. It can just represent that some people are who they say they are. They really are who they say they are. And that's how they present. But the thing is, everybody can present themselves in the world any way they want. And we have to see through the facade and the illusion. And that's kind of the moon card. And the Knight of Cups, like the moon card, is Pisces energy. People can hide the truth of how they really think and feel. And the feminine figures talk about how people really think and feel. And some people emotionally are really more about themselves secretly. And they just create an illusion, male or female. So again, the masculine energies can represent how people are presenting themselves in the world. And we have to learn to listen to our intuition, not just go by the surface. And, there are these things we see in the world that we can be drawn and attracted to, and we can find people, wow, they look really stable or grounded, or they seem loving, or they're attractive, or they're charming, or they're bright, or they're intelligent, or whatever. And we can be attracted to those things. And it can make us want to take a leap of faith with them. That's what the Fool card talks about. But we have to start listening to our intuition about who's kind of creating an illusion, and listen to our intuition. And then out of love for our own self and our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, that we have to be willing to, from the one to the Knight, be willing to walk away and not invest in our Taurus energy in some people who might want to be in a relationship with us. But based on these lessons we've learned and these past experiences, we now, in the Nine of Pentacles, can talk about we're a little more balanced within ourselves. We kind of healed and grew and matured ourselves and experienced some life experiences where we could be more balanced between our worldly nature and our emotionally intuitive, loving nature. And now we've learned to also invest in listening to our intuition. And if our intuition tells us some of these people, whether they're male or female, who might want to be in some type of relationship with us, it could be for ulterior purposes, lust, greed, pride, ego. It benefits them in some way. But if our intuition is telling us they're not being authentic, there could, as some of you are moving forward, there could be just some people who are looking to get in a relationship. Taurus, represented by the Hierophant, can represent all these different institutions of the world, including workplaces, friendships, and relationships. Some of those people see that we're taking time alone to work through this, work through issues from our past, to be more independent, to get more connected in with ourselves emotionally, to get more balanced within ourselves, and that we're ready to close out a cycle, to go have a new beginning. And there could be other people, oh, well, you're independent from something else. I want to be the next person to indulge in a friendship or relationship with you. And I think you'll listen to your intuition about those people. And if those people your intuition tells you they're being kind of deceptive or manipulative, I think you'll move on, even though it might kind of stress you out. Kind of like, God, I'm listening to love and intuition to guide me, but when is this going to work out the way I want? Well, our own shadowy nature is also lurking in the dark. You know, the big picture, shadow energy represented by the devil. The devil prowls around like a lion, waiting to see who it can devour. And as we're moving forward in high vibe energy, our own shadow nature would like us to invest in being more about ourself and more about our pride and ego, and hide from the truth and hide from listening to our more loving intuitive nature. And then we can have people in our life who would like to be in a relationship with us, but they're only going to be in a relationship with us if we hide from aligning with our more hopeful believing nature, hide the truth, maybe hide why a relationship didn't work out, why they or you became single from them. And as long as everyone's willing to hide the truth, and maybe hide the truth that some people were more materialistic, more immature, more stubborn, more bossy, more controlling, more manipulative, well, then they'd be willing to get back in a relationship with you. And other people who live their life like that would be willing to be in a relationship with you if you stop investing in your truth and moving forward, listening to truth and love. If you want to come back and do the relationship like this, they'd be willing to do a relationship with you. Let's be in a relationship. Let's love being in a relationship, indulging ourselves in a relationship, and let's all hide from the truth that it should be love. And love is supposed to be just and fair, and you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. Shadowy Taurus relationship can be, well, I like to present myself to the world, and I want people to view me as I'm that kind of person, that I'm just and fair, motivated and inspired by love, treat other people the way I like to be treated. But I kind of really think it's, if I have more of these things of the world that people want, or I'm more attractive, or I'm more charming, or I have more social clout, you know, whatever it is they think in their worldly nature kind of gives them more precedence or status of some sort in the relationship. That is the truth. And it's kind of this more immature view of relationship, that then it should be a little bit more about them. And other people should want to be in relationship with them. Those people should want to invest in them. Those people might be more abundant emotionally or in their looks or charm or social clout. But if what the other person has that they feel is more valuable, whatever that is. So one person could have money, the other person maybe could be really attractive. My attractiveness trumps your money. Other people could be very loving, very attractive, but somebody's got money. The person who has money says, no, my money trumps your attractiveness and your loving nature or your social clout or whatever, right? And that's a more shadowy, I want it to be a little bit more my way. And that's how some people view relationships. And, you know, that's also shadowy, like Taurus Hierophant energy. Who are the people who are most reluctant to change and accept change and do things differently? The people who benefit from it staying the same. And they want it to stay the same. Who doesn't want things to stay the same? The people who feel like they're being manipulated or abused in some way. I think you don't appreciate that I'm a just, fair, authentic, loving person. I think you kind of take that for granted, and because I might love you, then you think you can be hurtful or manipulative or bossy or controlling. And, you know, because we got maybe in a relationship, maybe created a family, that now you feel like you can use that to try to manipulate me. That's not love. And eventually the high vibe people, and same way, you know, being at a job where people can be immature and petty or bossy or controlling, and you see they're not ever seeming to change and have any self-insight that this really doesn't work out. Yeah, just like jobs and friendships, we have to do this work within ourselves to work through our own fears about becoming independent of those things, to know our own worth and value and stand up for ourselves and work through our fears and insecurities of detaching from that to go have this new beginning. You know, and some of you could have gotten out of one situation and you were moving forward. You could have communicated with some people in your life who you thought were kind of more on the same page as you. And some of those people are more emotionally mature and stable and grounded than maybe some of the people you had been in relationship with. And, you know, now you could kind of see the truth of that. Why did I go do this? Well, because I had to learn these lessons, you know? Then you could go communicate with some people who are more emotionally mature than some of the people you'd been in a relationship with. But they too kind of have this, they could be a more loving, nurturing person, less self-indulgent, less bossy, controlling, less immature, have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, but they still could be a little bit about it being a little bit more of a more transactional relationship, and it's a little bit more to be about them. So you keep moving on. You know, I think in high vibe, you're offering truth and love to people that you're inspired to invest in moving forward, but you kind of get out of your ego about it, where it's like, you know what? I'm going to go treat people the way I like to be treated. I'm not going to be in my ego about it. It's like I throw the ball to them. Here I am throwing a ball of being treating you in a just and fair manner, wanting to work together with you cooperatively in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. And then that person catches the ball and they're like, well, that's not how I play. And I'm not going to interact with you in kind in that way. And so then people could be a little snarky, immature, bossy, you know, because we can't, it's the only way we can kind of get to know people, right? Is we can put something out there, we let them have free will on how they choose to respond. And if they respond in a way that we feel isn't kind of in that more willing to work with you, being independent of their defensive nature, their ego nature, their immature nature, their manipulative nature, you just accept the truth of it, and you know your worth and value enough that thank you for showing me the truth of who you are, and I'm going to listen to my intuition, and I'm going to focus more of my time and energy on the people who I have offered that to, who are more independent of their more immature, defensive, or needing to try to control people in a relationship, who are working together with me, and I'm going to stay focused on those people. And there could be people in the world who would like to be in some type of relationship with you, but only if you're willing to do the relationship the way they want. And it's like, I've already been there and done that. You can go do that with someone else. And I'm going to keep moving forward, listening to my intuition. And as you do that, you will close out an old cycle because you're no longer playing those games and investing in people who choose to act and react and whatever in those ways. And so closing out a cycle to have this new beginning. And yeah, it's scary to have a new beginning. But you've learned that I have everything I need. I have my own feeling stable and grounded and in high vibe energy. I'm a loving, nurturing person to myself. I'm giving myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. I'm appreciating the loving and supportive and encouraging people in my life. And I'm ready to have this new beginning because what I did want to manifest, it didn't manifest with these people. So I'm looking to the future. So let's see what's coming up. So it could be people becoming independent of a job, a friendship group, a way of living life that at one point in time could have been just and fair, but then that phase of life is over, and now it's time for us to all grow up, maybe be more independent instead of more codependent on each other. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy that they might not see coming up? Okay. We have the Three of Cups, the Five of Wands, and the Page of Swords. And the reason that came out is because of the Ace of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. So, because you were willing to deal with the truth in high vibe, the Ace of Pentacles means you were willing to deal with the truth and from love. Because you were willing to see the truth from a place of love and were willing to emotionally grow and mature yourself. And I also view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy, and shadowy Capricorn energy is represented by the devil. You before had your own things that manipulated you. And you saw the truth of it, and you freed yourself from it. And you invested, Capricorn is also earth sign energy. So in all three of your earth sign energies, because we were talking about Taurus, Virgo energy helps us transition out of things. And then our Capricorn energy can be what helps us have new beginnings. Because you were willing to free yourself from things that manipulated you, you offered other people truth and love to move forward with you in that way. And if they weren't willing to do that, you saw the truth of it. And because you were willing to invest in putting in that work and effort, in the Three of Cups, well, some of the people that you could work with in your life in some degree, friends, family members, colleagues, whatever, some of those people are going to have inner conflict because you've seen the truth. And, you see that shadowy Five of Wands is shadowy Leo energy. You see that they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. In their Cancer, in their Leo, and in their air sign energy of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, they kind of think it's just and fair to maybe try to manipulate loving people. And then they use their emotions and their sexuality and their words and their charm or their money or their status or whatever to try to manipulate and control people. And you see the truth of it. And then that bothers them because you kind of saw through the illusion of how they like to try to present themselves in the world. And you're like, you know what? You do you. But out of love for myself, my foundation is going to move forward, and I'm not going to stay in my ego about the truth of who you are. You have the free will to be whoever you want to be and act whatever way you want to act. You have your truth. I have my truth. And the truth is, I have inner conflict dealing with people who I think try to emotionally manipulate me, or who are more competitive or more immature. And I accept that you want to do what you want to do. You want to be in relationships with who you want to be in relationships with. You could be very competitive. Okay. You could be more materialistic. Okay. Go do it. Enjoy. And that's where some people can be mad because, again, shadowy people, it's kind of like the devil could have other devils running around, people who are like themselves in a way. And in order to maybe really look like they've kind of got it going on in the world, they don't really want to be in relationships with people like themselves. No, I want you to indulge me in my more bossy, shadowy, or controlling ways of being. And I want you to be just and fair and loving. Kind of like the devil would like God to indulge the devil. And God's like, I'm not doing that. But, you do you. Live your life the way you want to live it. That's not my truth. And I'm going to work with the people in the world who have kind of gotten out of their more worldly, egoic, competitive, immature, bossy, controlling, or whatever views of life. I've changed. Could I have, in my loving nature, have indulged some people in their poor behavior and indulged poor behavior in myself? Yeah. But I realized I wasn't growing or healing or maturing myself. The people I was in a relationship maybe with weren't growing and healing and maturing themselves. And I was inspired to grow and heal and mature myself. And so I decided if I was offering love and encouragement and truth to people to grow and heal and mature with me, to become independent of some things that might manipulate them, as I've become independent of things that manipulated me, and I was willing to change, but I see they're not willing to change because they might think because they have these certain things of the world, or that's when you just find out it really isn't love that drives and motivates them anyway. Who's willing to kind of indulge me in a relationship for these certain things that I want in the world? And it's really not love if love requires them to grow and heal and mature themselves. Then they don't want to do it. That's love isn't enough. No, I'll go find someone else to be in a relationship with, because the truth could be I just want to be in a relationship where I don't maybe have to do this inner work. I don't want to look at my past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities. If I'm prideful or egotistical or manipulative, I don't want to deal with any of that. And I'll just go find someone else to get in a relationship with. It's like, okay, enjoy. And then for some, they thought you would maybe be bothered and be defensive. And for a while, you could have been bothered and been defensive and up in your head about it. But you kept being focused on the truth. Their truth is different than my truth. I already know that. I already know the type of relationship dynamic that they think is just and fair and their idea of the dream life. And it's not my idea of the dream life. And the only person I can change is me. So I need to invest in healing and growing and maturing myself to not repeat that pattern, to be more grounded, to be more balanced, to love myself, appreciate what I bring to the table, and listen to my intuition about the people in my life who are like that. And so again, with the Ace of Pentacles to the King of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles can represent also kind of these different institutions of the world, new friendships, new relationships, new jobs, but it also can be you investing in growing and maturing yourself. And kind of like I mentioned before, we can kind of be tipped out of balance in our more loving nature. You've learned to be like a good mother, father, coach voice to yourself to get more balanced, offsetting your more emotionally intuitive, loving nature with your more grounded, practical nature, that we have to be practical also based on the lessons that we've learned, because there are people who will try to take advantage of our more loving nature, and we, in our more worldly egoic nature, since it's a masculine card, we have to be a good leader in our own life and be careful of who we invest in. So in our more masculine nature, we're standing up and protecting our more loving nature. Still willing to invest in people and work together cooperatively with people. But when people just kind of show you the truth of who they are, you just are willing to accept the truth of it and not get in your ego about it. It's like, just thank you for showing me who you are. Yeah, I'm not going to be trying to chase you down to get you to like me or love me or figure out why. That's for you to figure out. I just need to be willing to see the truth of it when you show it to me. And then I know to maybe be a little more guarded towards you because you've already shown me that you're a little shadowy. And then from the 1 to the 9, taking back the 8 of Swords, I'm not going to be up in my head about it. I'm going to keep focused looking to the future on truth and love. You know, I'm closing out a cycle with people who act like that and being up in my head about those people. Knowing my worth and value, willing to be a student of life. Everything isn't about me. Nobody's got to like me, or, everybody's got their thing. And I just accept the truth. It's all about learning these lessons. And I think as you move forward in that very stable, abundant, grounded, authentic, loving way, there's other people who are in that same energy that are going to want to invest in you, you know? And those are the people you're going to move forward with. What about people who harness a more worldly, shadowy kind of Taurus energy? What's coming up for them that they don't see coming? Okay. We have the Seven of Pentacles and a card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the Ace of Cups. Well, because the more worldly, shadowy people keep emotionally investing in their more worldly Taurus philosophy of life, they're always going to have more high vibrational people in their life who are offering them love, to be in a relationship with them, to close out this old way of living life, to be willing to work through some of these issues, to do more equal give and take. If we go from the 7 down to the 1, we'd be letting go of the 6 of Pentacles. And the 6 of Pentacles also is Taurus, but it can be a more transactional relationship. Why can't we have a new beginning and be inspired to invest in just letting love and intuition guide us, and being nurturing and supportive and encouraging to each other? And when conflict arises, or we get in our head, or we get in our fear, we communicate about it and we work through it. And the other people are like, nope, that's scary. I'm not going to do that. So I think they're going to have some high vibrational people in their life that are going to wish them peace, but those people are going to stop investing in them. And they're going to move on. Why? Because those people in their life might harness this energy differently than them, or they did work within themselves to harness that energy differently than they did before. The Death card. The Death card is emotional water sign energy of Scorpio. Where it can seem like nothing new grows here. Nothing changes. It's like living life this certain way, watching maybe other people go be more independent, face their fears or insecurities, but we're too afraid to be maybe more bold and brave and confident. And so we keep repeating this old pattern. And that's the Death card. Nothing new grows there. And everybody could have not wanted to end the relationship, but the high vibe people in their life would like things to move forward, maybe a little more inspired, to put in some work and effort in Virgo energy to either move something forward, because from the 7 to go to to move forward in life in the 8 and then the 9, we work through some issues, we become more independent of things, and maybe work through some of our fears and our insecurities, or making our life so much about whatever it is that we could indulge in or make our life about that we think is so important. And some other people work through the fact that they didn't maybe want to leave the relationship either, or the job, or fire someone. But if nothing ever changes, nothing ever changes. So I can love people, wish you peace, but I don't want to keep doing this type of relationship dynamic. And I worked through my fears of emotionally detaching from this and moving forward to invest in my truth, not being as manipulated by something that I could have been manipulated about before. And I'm going to listen to my intuition and face my fears. And if you don't want to change, I accept the truth of that. I wish you peace. I'm moving on. But I am inspired to change. I am inspired to grow and heal and mature myself. I might want to be in a workplace with people who are more mature. I might want to be in relationships with people who are more mature. Or the King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married suit of the deck. And if some people kind of want to be in a relationship, but they never want to be in a more formal commitment, why? And that's for them to work out and decide if they think that's just and fair or not. And or just maybe a more committed instead of maybe seeming kind of more indulging just in a more emotionally immature relationship. I want a more mature relationship, and that's not where you're at. And maybe for some people, a more formal commitment or to get married or to have children. But for sure to be in relationships where people are letting their more authentic inner child out to play in the world. And some people never let their more authentic inner child come out to play in the world because they get hurt. And so they operate more from their defensive egoic nature. It has to be more about me in my self-protective nature. I'll be in a relationship with you, I could marry you, but I'm not going to let my more authentic nature. You're going to be in a relationship with my more egoic nature. And some people are like, I've been in a relationship with your more egoic nature and I'm done. And you can take your more egoic nature of defensiveness or whatever to be in a relationship with someone else because I could find it a little superficial and shallow. In order to have a more deep, meaningful relationship, I need to be in a relationship with people who have worked through these things to be more out of their defensive egoic nature, to feel more stable and grounded within themselves, to be willing to be a student of life and realize that we're all going to go on this journey and learn some lessons. And if we treat, at least we can treat each other people with love and respect and act with character and integrity. And if it doesn't work out, we can feel proud of ourselves and we can move on in life. If we choose to act in more bossy, controlling, manipulative, prideful reasons, a relationship might not work out, and then we can stay in denial that we acted in those ways, or we see the truth of it, and then we do this work to make better choices next time. But ultimately, I think if some shadowy people keep acting in some more shadowy ways of being, the high vibe people in their life are going to become independent of them. And people who are more on the same page as them or have lessons learned. There's always going to be new people who are willing to get in relationship with people. And some people might want to be in a relationship just to indulge themselves in a relationship. Or they think it says something about their worth or value or their status or their image. But, if other people have lessons learned from them, they're going to learn it, they're going to move on. But ultimately, the people who might end up staying in a relationship with them might be people who also are more about these things of the world, want to be in a relationship to be in a relationship, might be more about the status or the ego or the image. They also could have been in relationships with people who wanted them to detach from this more worldly view of life. And that would be a more just and fair relationship. But, if you're more motivated to make your life about these things of the world, you should be in a relationship with people who make their life more about these things of the world. If you're more indulgent of your more immature nature, you should be in a relationship with other people who are more indulgent in their more immature nature. If you're more bossy and controlling or have some ways of being that you think people should be willing to indulge you anyway, well, maybe those people got their own things and people indulge them. Well, then that would be a just and fair relationship. If people have a comfort zone and they want to keep living their life a certain way and they meet other people who want to live their life that certain way and they don't ever want to do life any differently, that would be a just and fair relationship. We either see people who are growing, healing, and maturing themselves over time, or we see people keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over. And Everybody can wish them peace and love. You do you. Everybody's got free will. It's just that other people aren't going to want to live their life that way. And so, for some people who think, oh, if I just go do this or I just go do that, it'll make it look like I've changed, I've grown, I've healed, I've matured myself. But they're going to keep, because they haven't changed, either these same scenarios are going to keep repeating where they don't work out the way they want, or they finally do get in a relationship with someone who is more on the same page as them. And that's just when other people could see the truth that they are more codependent, more about themselves or more about ego or image. And other people just see the truth of it, and that's fine. But they also see other people who don't want to repeat that pattern. And people could kind of see the truth then about why other people might have moved on from them, because they see nothing changes here. And other people are more inspired to, I don't know, and think there's more to life than just being in a relationship to be in a relationship, or just to be in a job to have a job, or to have a certain status or image. It's about seeing that some people really invested in their truth and they're not willing to compromise their truth. And high vibe Taurus and high vibe Virgo is about kind of being a spiritual leader in the world, and willing to also live their more authentic life. And some people aren't willing to, and they do kind of, in a more shadowy Taurus energy, make their life more about conforming to the world or other people, and other people are living their authentic truth. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.